We'll wait till the Twitch goes live, and then we'll kick it off.
Cool beans. Have you put up in the chat room that it's going on?
No, I'll do that.
Might be quite cool if we get some posts coming in.
Yep.
What's the bloody thing ain't working? MMLPro. There we go.
All right.
How have you been anyway, bud? Good day at work?
It was okay. It was okay. All right, you ready to go?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to play this, and then we'll do some talking.
Are we on audio or not?
Yes.
Right, I'll shut up.
Peggy 16.
Tip, I'm so excited.
But let's keep it together. At least until the first death.
I hope your front door is locked and your phone is switched off. It's match time. And nothing can come in the way of a head coach and his Blood Bowl. That's gonna hurt in the morning.
His claw cuts like a hot knife through butter. An incredible match. I thought my heart would almost beat on more than one occasion.
So many touchdowns, Jim. I've lost count. I mean, I can only count to 3 anyway. But that was a lot, right?
All right, we are live with the the first live broadcast of MMLPro Talk, and it's myself, Preach, and my very special guest, Mr. Thunden from across the pond. How's it going?
Spot cheerio, folks. How's it all going?
Excellent, excellent. So we really don't know what we're doing as far as a live broadcast goes. It's a little scary.
But at least we're not working with children or pets.
Right. Well, I guess I could be so considered somewhat of a pet and a child at the same time. So anyway, it is what? 2, 3, 5 in the morning over there?
Midnight. That's all right.
Yeah, that's all right. So we won't, first of all, thank you for, I mean, it's still sunshine now, and my wife is upstairs barbecuing some stuff to eat. So when we're done here, I have
Just rub it in, man.
right.
Jesus.
I have a whole evening in front of me, so I feel bad. So first of all, thank you for waiting this out for all your fans. So anyway, let's get right into it. Let's talk about the MML Season 3. We're done with Season 3, but let's talk about Season 3. Let's talk about...
Fond memories of Season 3.
Share one.
There's a big looming figure in Season 3 for me. I got absolutely accosted by lizards for the whole bloody season.
As did everybody.
It seemed to be the season of the lizards. And then out of nowhere at the end, in comes our new, probably numero uno orc coach out of nowhere.
Right.
And, fair props to Caven. I didn't really hold him in much of a shout in the playoffs. And that just totally proved me wrong. And, full respect to him as a fellow orc coach. I can do nothing but, absolutely give him huge props for what he managed to pull off there. That was great. Right. And, I was just, I think Lizards were so strong last season. And it seems to have, I think we've had different races which have been strong in each season. So obviously, Season 1, I think you saw that most of the guys who played dwarfs had a pretty good time of it in that season, whilst everyone was just kicking off because of the low TV value and the fact that dwarfs are quite handy at that. Second season, it was a bit of a mix around. I think the elves did pretty well Season 2. I can't recall off the top of my head. I'll blame Shots for that, since that's the season he came in and alcoholism started rearing its ugly head in the MML.
Right.
And then Season 3 just seemed to be lizards everywhere, man.
Right.
Absolutely swamped by lizards. And I started off some fantastic rivalries in Season 3, which will continue through to Season 4, I'm sure.
Right. And Caven, like you said, I don't think he was on anybody's radar. So, and that's, I'll be a little bit blunt about myself at least. That's partially to blame, I think, between you and me, buddy. You and I have been the orc coaches from the beginning.
Mm.
The grunts have their own propaganda machine. The Titans have done way better than the grunts themselves, so they were kind of looked to coming out of season 2 into season 3 as the premier orc team. And here was Caven just minding his own business, doing his
Yep.
own thing, playing an orc team, and then boom,
Straight through.
Yeah, season
Straight through.
champs.
Season champions.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing, triumph that he's done there, pulling that out of the bag. Totally didn't see it coming, and that's just what makes it all the more special.
Right, right. So let's talk. Who else made it there? We had Stuntman Didi with some off-the-shelf dark elves.
Yeah, I mean, Blitzkriegers took the season by storm, man. I mean,
Right.
I think they were in a pretty, and I hope none of the other coaches in that conference or Playpool hate me too much for saying this, but I think they had a easier Playpool. I think that everybody around them sort of just took points off each other, which just enabled the Blitzkriegers just to get a superb advantage and get way ahead of everyone. Also, not taking anything away from Stuntman, he's a quality coach. If you make one slip up against him, he's going to have you. I managed to do that in a farm game yesterday, but we won't talk about that.
Right.
But he's a quality coach. But I think he'll be a lot more tested this season because I'm coming back to take my championship again.
Well, he also runs very high risk, high reward. I mean, he's not afraid to, do what some other more conservative coaches would not, and it's paid off for him very well, and it paid off with wins and it paid off with postseason for him. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be interested to see if he keeps on with the tactic he's got of running with 5 or 6 rerolls, because
Right.
that TV bloat is really going to get to him when those players start ramping up, and he's going to either have to be brutal with getting rid of them, or just swallowing the TV.
I don't think he cares. I think you could go in with a halfling chef and a wizard and whatever else you wanted, and that would be fine by him. It wouldn't change his gameplay. He'll do his rerolls. He'll do his high risk maneuvers, and it pays off for him.
I don't know. You give me a wizard against him, and I'll put my I'll rate my chances. But I think he had a great season last season. It'll be interesting to see how he kicks off this. I think he started off this season with a draw, but we can go into that a little bit later.
Yep. So again, we had some other lizards in the postseason. As to be expected, but I think we expected the Cold Hard Truth.
Yeah, Cold Hard Truth were I don't think they've lost a game yet, have they? Well, they lost in the playoffs, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
So I think we expected lizards to be there. They were there. I think we'll probably. Well, I'm not going to say we expect them to be there this season, because I think this the new season is the season where we eradicate the lizards.
The lizard scourge.
Yes.
It's, I've had enough of it now, Breach. It's time to do something serious. Me and Shots had a little thing going last season. We're going to do it again this season.
Excellent.
Let's start keeping the tally shots.
Excellent. So, what else about season 3? Anything else that sticks out for you?
Only one thing: steroids. Steroids on certain teams are really beginning to bug me.
Certain teams or a certain team?
Certain teams now,
Right.
because there's 2, I believe, with steroid problems in the league now.
Right.
But for the life of me, I can't find any steroids anywhere for any of my teams, and it's driving me nuts.
Right.
I want to know where they get it from, and I want the source. I want a supplier.
Well, we're gonna, I think it's become so prevalent now that we're going to have to have an official league inquiry. It may drag on in the bureaucracy and the red tape. Right. But yeah, I'm in full agreement with you here that something has to be done, or at least share. I mean, I guess I guess it's acceptable if everybody has access, but evidently we don't. So that's a problem.
Well, I think the other big thing about season 3 was it just kicked. I think the league really pushed on in regards of the amount that we talk to each other, the amount of updates that were going on the website. It really seemed to just grow again in its evolution. So that was great to see.
Yeah, I think we it ended. Season 2 ended with I'll say the introduction of commentators, and that picked up in season 3 to the point where we had games going, every day, every other day, if not every day. Some coaches commentated more games than they played. And so yeah, we had a lot of articles, we had a lot going on, we had a lot of chatter, we had a lot of hype against not just upcoming games, but games that are happening right now, the game that'll happen after that. So yeah, it was quite the season. I would agree. I would agree. How about season 4? You want to talk about that? How do you want to approach that?
Yeah, season 4. I mean, we've already had a number of games. I guess we could start off talking about season. Do you want to talk about the rules for season 4 before we head into the extra what's already happened?
Yeah.
And the setup, and maybe we can explain to some of the new coaches why it took a little bit of time to get season 4 kicked off.
Yeah, let's talk. That one is pretty easy right off the bat. The reason. So normally we don't like to have lag time between seasons for obvious reasons, because people drop off. And it's just, we want to play. We don't want to talk about playing. We want to play. Although what are we doing right now? We're talking about playing. But the reason for it was I guess you could blame me. I have no problem taking the heat on this one. Part of the issue is that so I serve in the military. I have a 2-week obligation during the summer to go do soldiery things, and my 2 weeks just happened to coincide with the last week of basically bowl and playoff week, and then the week after, which we use as a transfer. So I made the unilateral decision. We're just going to wait till I get back to do everything. I know it extended things a little bit longer, but in retrospect, it takes, just like I thought, it took a week for people to, accept their tickets and to get everything set up. So once we got back, once we got going, it went pretty slick. But that was the reason for the delay. Should really only happen one season out of a legitimate real world year, but that's why we had the delay. But going into the changes for season 4, so the rule set, we have a pretty extensive rule set here, and we try to make it simple, but unfortunately sometimes it gets a little complicated. But there are some new rules and some rule changes for season 4, so let's hit on those really quick. A season-ready team, we had some definitions. So a pro team is a team that is in the pro league or has played in the pro league and is coming back to the pro league. A challenge team is a team that is in the challenge league. For intents and purposes, those really only count when the season is in swing. Like right now, you're either a pro team, you're either a challenge team, or you're a team on the farm. Those are your 3 categories. Once the season ends, it kind of depends on what your team's status is. If you have declared this team to go into the next season, then it's either a pro team or a farm team. There are no more challenge teams at that point. Former challenge teams become pro teams, or they become farm teams, depending on how they're going to go. Look at the website to kind of get a definition there, but what I want to hit on is a season-ready team. So we had to adjust this or add this in for season 4. A season-ready team is a team that is ready to accept the ticket for that upcoming season. And what makes them season-ready is you have to have a minimum of 11 men on your roster. You can't have 9, you can't have 10 and count on journeyman. You got to have 11, and they have to be active players, meaning they can't be hurt, they can't be missing the next game, and they can't have excess SPP, meaning you can't leave them without leveling them up. That makes your team ready to receive a ticket. You won't get a ticket unless they're ready to go, but that was I'll say, we put that in writing this particular season.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing to also point out there, mate, is that as we get more and more people looking at this on a more regular basis and more people become involved in it, it's only natural that people are going to find things that we, in all honesty, that we've just missed,
right.
and that we haven't defined. So people have to understand that, and it's always going to be a work in progress until we get to a point where you're happy with it and right. It's stable and there's nothing else going on. But with with everything. There's always going to be changes, so it's just
Right.
about being able to react to them.
Right. Another big change is the tiebreakers. So in prior season, the tiebreakers, so we had most points would go, but when you had points tie, then we went to the most wins. Well, there's often a chance that the wins could be the same. So it was this third tiebreaker that was in question. Priorly, it was the most points. Whoever had scored the most points in the season would be the winner of the tie. The issue with that is there's a big disparity between, let's say, an orc team who scores maybe 1 or 2 points and an elf team that does a lot of scoring. So it's not equitable it favors high-scoring teams. So what we did is we took that out and we put the head-to-head. So the head-to-head record between those two teams that were tied, the team that had won had the most wins or had the better record is now going to break the tie. If that's still tied, we're going to go to a coin toss. So that was a change. Let's see. The other big change is the regular and postseason. So in season 3, you played 8 games. The 8th game was kind of a rigged game. Not that it was rigged, but it was a manufactured game at the end between some teams. Season 4, going forward, we will not have that 8th game. We will simply have 7 games in your play pool, and the 8th game will go into the postseason. What we will do as a play pool is you have conferences. You have 4 teams per conference, and the play pool is 8 teams, the 2 conferences combined. What we're going to do is we're going to take the top 2 teams from that play pool, not the top team from each conference, the top 2 teams from the entire play pool. It could be the top team in each conference. It could be 2 teams from the same conference, and one conference doesn't even send one. So we'll take the top teams out of that play pool. Those will then go to the playoffs, and anybody who's bowl eligible will go to a bowl. So that's a big change.
Much fairer.
Yeah. And that's for the pros. For the Challenge League, they will play 7 games in their play pool, and then they'll be combined, and they'll all go into a knockout tournament. So it'll be a little bit different for the Challenge guys. But for the pros, it's those top 2 teams. And yeah, it's a lot fairer. Should give us a lot better competition in those playoffs and for those points, really. We added some clarification on league managed matches in concessions. Basically, you cannot concede. If you concede 2 games in a season, then you're going to be bumped down to the farm, and we'll replace you. So we don't like concedes. We'll bump you down to the farm if you have 2 in the season. Read the rule. I'm not going to go into the whole thing. We've beat that horse to death. Read it. Ask some questions if you have them. But
Much like Scrubs, we don't like concedes.
Right. But if you have a concede, we have instituted the disgusted player rule. The disgusted player rule basically says this. You have players on your teams that they are on the team because they want to play games. If you as a coach concede the game, they get upset at you. So what happens is if any player, you could have 3, you could have 1, your whole team, any player that has more than 51 SPP may decide to leave the team. If you don't have a player with that much SPP, then your highest player, i.e. the player with your most SPP, just that one player, may leave the team. What happens is the league is going to send you it's a secure email that rolls a D6. It carbon copies you and the league. There's an independent website that just rolls it, and it verifies it. And if it rolls a 1 to 3, the player stays. If the result is a 4, 5, or 6, then you have to go in and fire that team or fire that player. If you choose,
50%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty huge.
Yep. So there's your disincentive to not concede. If a coach fails to comply, meaning they don't fire the player, then they lose 10 standings points from their record. So for that particular season, so there's a big disincentive to concede. As tactics and things like that. So anyway, those are the new rules for season 4. Did I get everything that you can think of?
I think so. Yep. But nothing springs to mind.
All right.
Anyone in chat think of anything, then flick it up there and we can talk about it.
Yep. All right. So now what? We'll go on to season 4.
Yeah, and we can talk about the advent of Norse. Some of the charity competitions we
Right.
had.
Right.
I think they gave it a little bit of extra flavour last year. I know that the Humanitarian Bowl was pretty well contested. Ragnarok the same.
Right.
So I think that adds a little bit of certainly with the prize of being able to bring a team in at the pro cap rather than farm cap is a real good carrot, I think, for people to get involved in this sort of stuff. And it's also I don't think it totally cripples people who don't have the time to play multiple games.
Right.
Because we're talking about a whole new fresh team that's at your pro cap anyway.
Right.
So,
And it applied to that team, not to the coach. So that it was only that one team. If you won one of those tournaments that you could bring in, you couldn't just win the tournament and then apply it to some other team. So I think that helped.
Shots wants us to run through who won each charity event. Who won the Humanitarian Bowl?
It's a good question. It wasn't me. I got eliminated by shots. So
That's probably why he wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
No, I didn't take part in Humanitarian Bowl. I know Jesty did quite well in that, but I can't remember who he was playing. I think he was playing someone in the final. Anyone in chat know? We can move on to Ragnarok. I think I know who won that one.
Right. Who did win that one?
That was me.
That was you.
Me.
That was right. Yeah, that was right. Yeah. Yeah. And talk about the special rule if you were a loser in Ragnarok.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it would have killed me if I had to delete that team. It's the best naming convention I've ever got, and I actually really regretted it as soon as I started with the team because I grew attached to it instantly. And yeah, if you lose, you delete the team, and it cannot come back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a little.
I think the Chaos guys have a hashtag for that. I think it's hashtag Bubba, isn't it?
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bubba.
Yeah.
Really Bubba.
Yeah, they use that quite a bit. That was on the one hand, do I really want to put my effort into this Norse tournament because if I lose, I delete the team. On the other hand, if you win it, you have a pretty stout Norse team. So yeah, there's a little bit of a conflict there, but yeah.
Yeah, and so I think talking about the Norse teams, we're seeing a hell of a lot more of them in season 4 than I thought we would. Just at last count, I think we were at was it about 4 Norse teams? So 4 Norse teams in there who came in at the farm cap, really,
right?
Just with the coach benefits on top, and there's some in there that look properly dangerous. I got to pick out Solar Sabers. They look fairly nasty, and they drew with the Blitzkriegers this week. And to be honest, it was one of the games I saw. I haven't managed to see many, but I did see that one, and it was hashtag Bubba at the start. There were dark elves going flying left, right, and centre, and stuntman Didi kept on just playing, and he was unlucky on a couple of occasions, playing those plays that we talked about earlier. But it was a proper harem scarum stuff. Really good game to watch. So if you want to catch that on repeat, I'd heartily recommend that.
Yeah,
good game.
I'm a little bit scared of the Norse teams simply because I haven't, naturally, I haven't played against them very much. They all come with block. I know they're got a low armor rating, but their strength isn't too bad, and they got decent movement, decent speed, decent. They're decent. And they have some big strengths. I'm not a big fan of the Yetis. I think they're just overgrown teddy bears. But
weren't you watching one of the Norse games recently? Talk us through it.
Oh yeah. So Shots and I will talk about if we have time. The Age of Sigmar.
That was Sigmar, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. But
sorry. Yeah.
But nonetheless, I'm not impressed with the Yetis yet.
I must admit, playing with the Yeti, they seem to me to be one of the least impressive big guys. I'm not sure they're worth it, particularly if, as one of our Norse players does, you get a strength bonus on more steroids, man, more steroids.
Right.
A strength bonus on a werewolf or on an Ulfwerner. That's huge. A strength 5 bad boy running around with and if you get block on him with frenzy as well, that's harsh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the Norse are a good team, but once you have one of those games where you take an utter battering, I think that's when they really get tested,
right?
And that's when it's difficult to come back from. But I think with all of these teams, when you look at what you're bringing in as a journeyman, the journeyman Norse is probably one of the best journeymen you're going to bring in.
Sure.
doesn't really weaken your team that much when you bring in a guy who's got decent strength and block
And
as a
block,
standard.
yeah, and block, yeah.
That's huge. That pretty much downs every other journeyman. So that's the strength of Norse, I think. You just got to be willing to take your licks and then roll with the journeyman just for a couple of turns until either they come back or you build someone else up.
Right. Well, that being said, I think we have a pretty balanced smattering of races in Season 4. I mean, we have four orc teams, 3 dwarf teams, 4 chaos teams, 4 wood elf teams, 4 Norse teams, 3 Skaven teams, 4 lizard teams, 2 high elves and 2 dark elves, and then you have 1 human and 1 Bretonnian team. So, I mean, other than the human and the Bretonnians, I mean, everything is pretty much, balanced. We don't have any race that's represented more than 4 times at the pro level, at least. So it's
I think it's I think that the racial diversity rule, which was another one that came in for Season 4.
right.
I think that's a really really nice little addition that we've got going on there. As long as it doesn't get too big and become out of control.
Right.
But it's a nice little incentive for people to think, I could probably do a little bit with that 40 TV or whatever it was,
Right.
and make myself a little bit more competitive. And it's just that pushing up people over the edge to try something new.
Right.
And speaking of new, I know you're excited about this as well, but
Yes.
we have the undead around the corner as well.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I am excited. Very excited.
And undead were always my team when I was playing Blood Bowl 1, so
Yeah.
I will definitely be having a strong look at that. And there's some orcs that are playing for their Season 5 this season.
Right. I'm completely on board and in agreement with that as well. I am really looking forward to the undead. Haven't played them before. Know nothing about them. They just seem to be what I would like. We'll say.
I think they're a souped-up power lizard, basically. Then for me, that's what they are.
Right.
But just going back to the games that have already been played in Season 4, I don't want to do the coaches that have played down
Right.
So far, and I want to give them some airtime. Which games did you see? Like I said, I saw the Solar Sabers versus Blitzkriegers, which ended in that 1-1 draw,
Right.
which was just knock them down, stand them up stuff, and Dark Elves going crazy all over the place. I also saw the Shock-and-Aws, the dwarfs versus those damn leaping lizards.
Right. I did not catch that one. I did not, other than the highlight of the touchdown at the end.
Yeah, that was an interesting game. I mean, I think Shaky misplayed at the beginning with the roller and accidentally had something out of position, which one blitz from Don took out the defense and managed to get him through on the ball carrier, which enabled him to get a quick touchdown. After that, it was pretty even. Shaky lost his roller. That roller is just bloody lethal. It's got piling on, and you just don't want to be anywhere near it.
Right.
And he uses it a lot. But anyone who's played Shaky knows that she tends to play dwarves in a little bit of an eccentric manner.
Right.
And it all looked done and dusted. It was 2-0. What are we going to play for here? Let's just see if we can do a quick short pass and get a 1 SPP.
Right.
No. She runs. This epic dwarf play which covers what it must have been. If not the whole field, 5 squares off
At least,
the whole field.
Right.
And manages to squeak a touchdown in the last play.
Yep.
Epic dwarf stuff, and it's great to see just a dwarf team playing like that.
Yeah, I did not catch it. I caught the I listened to Shots and Rez play their game and got a smattering of a few plays here and there. I think they ended in a tie, and I saw 2 or 3 plays of the whole thing. Listened to them talk. It was kind of almost a boring game, really. Not to take away from them, but I mean the action on the field was pretty boring. But the chatter, it was fun to listen to because they started off being very quiet, right? Mm-hmm. Just making very conservative chat. I could tell they were concentrating. About turn 3, they started talking a little bit more. By turn 7, they were almost talking in complete sentences. And by the second half, they were talking more back and forth and just having a good time than really playing. Like I said, the game.
Are you sure Shots was talking in complete sentences? I mean, that's a pretty big achievement.
Well, I said almost, and like I said,
right.
by the end of the game, he had enough words that you could probably rearrange them and like on those little words on a fridge where you can make you could make a sentence out of it. So by the end that was, but Rez seemed to understand what was going on. They were communicating at a level that was much higher than I can speak at.
That's their ongoing farm affair that's obviously had an impact there.
Right. But that game ended in a tie. I did catch part of the the defending champs.
I was going to say, you must have seen that one.
Actually, I didn't. I didn't. I was at work the whole time.
Shame on you. Shame.
I know.
If I had a bell, I'd be ringing it now. Shame.
Shame. No, I didn't, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But the defending champs against Ninja 2K's Dragon, or what is it?
Dragonborn TIE Fighters, your own son's team.
Right.
You have to learn the name.
Right, I do. Well, it's his fourth season. He's been with us 4 seasons. It's his 4th team. I think he's finally landed on a team that he can that he can do fairly well with, or at least fits his style a little more. But I didn't see the game at all, and he didn't know. See, here's the thing you have to understand about him. He's not necessarily in the chat unless he's online and sees the chat. I tell him, and when it's time to play, I say, "Hey, buddy, it's time for your game." He's like, "Cool, who am I playing?" And I tell him, and that means nothing to him, right? So when I tell him he's playing the Wrecking Crew, he asks, "What are they?" Meaning, what race? And I say orcs, and I can see his eye roll because he doesn't want to play orcs, right?
Daddy keeps on making me play his dad
Right.
orcs.
But that's all he knows about. That's all. He doesn't know that they won the
no
thing.
reputation, nothing.
He knows nothing about it. And I did that on purpose. So like I said, I was at work the whole day. I come home and after I think he lost. No, they tied. That's right.
Tied.
And I was like, "Hey, do you know who that was?" And he's like, "It was an orc team." And I'm like, "Yeah." So nothing, not to take away from Caven at all.
Did you tell him afterwards that it was the champions of last season?
Yeah, I did. And he's like, "No, it wasn't." I'm like, "Yeah, it was. They won the whole thing, buddy." He's like, "Oh." So I think he was a little bit proud of himself.
Good. He should be, man.
Yeah. So, but I saw
the messages coming through on that one. Caven was getting a little bit salty on it, but it's just he was a gentleman about it. But yeah, no, I saw that result coming in, and I was just like, I'm rooting for Ninja 2K. I played him, I think, first season round, and he stuck with it, and just goes to show that perseverance pays off. So good on him.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think we've had other season 4 games, but I don't.
Yeah, so we had Prague number 5 against Los Pumas. So that's dwarfs versus humans. Los Pumas have been a team that bubbles under in the past couple of seasons. They're a handy little outfit, and they know how to score. If I had to have a dark stab in the dark for season 4, it would be Los Pumas.
You think so?
Our only human team. I think they'll surprise a lot of people.
And they're one of the only few teams that when the Frozen Thrones were around, beat them.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. I think they were the only team, weren't they? Apart from in the final.
Right, but apart
so
from
in regular season play, they're the only teams who were beaten in the front Thrones.
Yep.
Then we had Yobs 2.3 against Rodentia ad nauseum. 2-1 win for the Yobs there, and they're freshly promoted from the Challenge League, aren't they?
They are, and it's good to see the Skaven Menace take a loss. So.
And weren't the Yobs in the final last year against the Stop Rolling Ones? I think they
may have been. They may have. I was gone on my training, so I didn't get to catch a lot of those. So I don't know.
But I don't ever hear about any other team because Rez is just so busy extolling his virtues as the first Challenge League champion that I never hear about any other Challenge League competitors.
Right.
But they had a nice 2-1 win over the Skaven. Then you had my old pals, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Lizards, irking out a 1-1 draw with the White Owls. I didn't see that one, but I'd have loved to have. I'm probably going to try and catch it up sometime this weekend if I can see it. Just purely for research purposes, of course.
Yeah.
And we had Leaf Dancers getting a 2-1 win over the Chaos Flat Earth Angels. That's a brand new team. Yep. I think they're both brand new teams, aren't they? Leaf Dancers, the Flat Earth Angels.
Not brand new coaches, but brand new teams. Yes.
Right. Okay. So brand new teams, but yeah. So that's another win for the Wood Elves there.
Yep.
Then we had. So that's all for the East. And then we had the Norse Leap Tool Brooklyn. Great name.
Yep.
Versus the old Seattle Treehawks.
Yes.
And handy 2-0 win for the Wood Elves again there.
Yeah.
Scuttlebutts, your good old pals,
Right.
against the restored Innsmouth Deep Ones.
Right.
Deep Ones coming out with a 2-1 win there.
That was glorious,
It's great,
by the way.
great to see the Deep Ones back. Great to see the Deep Ones back. Well, I think there were some injuries in that one as well, weren't there?
I just caught. Like I said, I've been. I don't know.
All right.
I've been so busy. I don't know. I've caught the scores, and that's about it.
Okay. And then we had the 2-2 draw between the Stop Rotting Ones. I guess we should say hashtag Challenge League champions.
Right.
Versus the Bill Cower Power Hour.
Right.
And then we had this monstrous menace, the Kentucky Bourbons.
Right.
Defeating the Skaven Menace once again 2-1, with poor old Dolt's Mouse taking another beating.
Yes.
Kentucky Bourbons look a handy outfit. They have some monstrous Chaos Warriors in that team.
I played them more than one time when they were growing up on the farm, and I think I don't think I ever came out. I know I didn't come out with a win in any cases. I may have tied them one time with a human team, but I know I didn't come out not beaten up. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're going to upset a few people this season. They're one of my other tips for the season 4. And then the last game that I think's been played, unless I've missed any that have happened, is Dignity coming out against our only Bretonian team,
Yes.
3-0. And I managed to see this one because
Oh, you
I was
did?
quite interested in seeing how Dignity would play.
Now, rumor has it, and I didn't know this, but I actually play on that team.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I didn't know.
And you're a more than handy player as well.
Excellent.
Yeah. So it was an interesting game to watch, and it wasn't as one-sided as the scoreline suggests. The Bretts took a bit of a hammering on dice rolls. They were unfortunate with knockout returns, and I mean Dignity played a good game, as you would expect.
Sure.
From Cess, and they're going to be strong this season. They're going to take some lumps though, and I think they had a death. I think one of their players, Magic, who was a lineman with block and something or other, didn't make it through to the end and went off dead early. I think he didn't want to use his apothecary too early in that game. It's going to be an interesting season with Dignity. I think they're going to be up there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And speaking of apothecaries,
Yes.
should we discuss the fact that there seems to be some sort of
Collusion.
or some sort of almost I don't know, despicable shenanigans going on with controlling of the apothecaries by one in particular coach?
I think we should. I think this is probably another league inquiry. I know he's been asked about this. I know he takes credit for running the apothecaries, but whenever they seem to, I don't say underperform or perform certain duties at certain times, it's almost as if, it was ordained or it didn't happen or, that's another, that and the rampant drug abuse by certain teams needs to be looked into.
All I'd say is everyone think twice before buying your apothecary. Vet them thoroughly. Make sure they haven't been anywhere near a certain chaos coach, and beware that you may not get the result you want. I see more returned deaths or anything in the MML than I have in any other league I've played in.
Right. I've almost considered just getting rid of my apothecary because I think
it's TV bloat now. It's TV bloat.
It's TV bloat, and it's not going to do me any good. And even if I lose, I can still afford usually another player. So
You might as well spend the 50k back on your next lineman.
Right. Exactly. So I think we combat this by pretty much boycotting the entire apothecary union, so to speak.
Yeah, okay. Well, I look forward to seeing your first game without an apothecary then, Coach. hashtag take him on for the team.
Right. I actually did play one. I actually did. I played the challenge in the challenge league. I played. I had planned on buying one prior to the game and then forgot to do it.
That's totally different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, season 4's kicked off really good. I've got my. Have you played your game yet, Breach?
No,
You haven't, have you?
I have not. So this.
Who have you got this week?
I have Kami in his new Norse team. I forget the name.
Interesting.
I forget the name because they're probably non-sequential. Um, that's my.
Would it be Champions of Valhalla?
No, maybe
Just Norse and around?
just Norse and around. There you go.
Just Norse and around. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Commie's a great coach.
He is.
And,
He really is.
I'm not looking forward to seeing him with the Norse team. I think
No.
that could be pretty painful for all concerned.
Well, they have, and they also have their field has the beer cart, so they got
Ooh.
lots of frenzy, and they're looking to surf. So
There's I think that's one other thing in season 4. We're starting to see some stadium upgrades really coming in. I know that Shaky's got the free bribe,
Yep.
so that she can get the roller back out
Yep.
with the bribe. I think Shots has got something as well, and then we're seeing
He's
other
got the
things
beer
with
cart.
Granite.
He's got the beer cart.
Yeah, beer cart. Astro Granite, I think, is out there on another dwarf team.
Yep.
So it's interesting. The thing is, unless you do your research, you don't know about this, and you're coming into it, and you're like, whoa, hold on, I'm playing on Astro Granite.
Right.
Crap, and
Right.
it does have an impact. So that's interesting development for season 4.
All right, so let's wrap up season 4 by give your because you of course always pick the winner. Who do you think goes? Let's final two for season 4.
Well, obviously, it's not going to be my team, as we're going to be losing to History of Violence this weekend, as we do on every first game of the season. But if I had to pick 2 at the moment, I would go for. For me, it's between a top 5, and I've already had a think about this, and it'd probably be Los Pumas would be my dark horse. Then I'd see Kentucky Bourbons up there, Leaping Lizards, Dignity, and one other. And my one other wild shout on this would probably be the Bill Cower Power Hour. They had a good season. Last season.
Now they've already tied this season. You don't need you don't necessarily need a full season worth of wins because a tie is worth a point. So you don't not to fret if you lose your first game. It's not that big of a deal. But I'm picking the Power Hour to be one of the final 2.
Really?
Yep. Yep. And then I don't know after that. I really don't.
I'm going to ask you to nail your colours to a mast on this. Pick a team.
I'm going to say it's either going to be, it's not going to be a Lizard team. So it's probably going to be Dignity, or you may see an Elf team. You may see an
The Treehawks. The Treehawks had a good season. They're pretty developed.
Treehawks have been around for a long time. They always make the playoffs. They always do well. But it seems I'm not going to say they choke because they don't. It's just the conglomeration of their season, either through a tie or a one-off loss where they have a bad game, seems to just position them so they don't quite have the points, at least in the prior formats, to get there. I think you probably see a Wood Elf team in the final 2, or at least final 3 this year.
Interesting that as Orc coaches, we have not picked any Orcs.
Right. Well, and
even though we were shown up to be completely wrong last year by Caven, or last season by Caven.
Right, and I think there's a reason for that. I don't think. Well, let me rephrase. Here's my excuse for that. I think Caven had an awesome run last season. I don't think he goes that far this season, but I still think he's a powerhouse. That being said, I have no illusions that the Grunts, although they will, this season we're going to concentrate on getting rid of the Skaven Menace and making ourselves proud, because next season, I think the city of New Orkland has decided to take. They're bringing in some other teams and they're doing some other things there. So there has
been some spooky action in New Auckland around the cemeteries.
Right. So we may see something else coming out of that region in future seasons, but we'll see. So,
okay. I mean, for the Titans, I mean, we're a full season now with the Titans.
Right.
it's a really hard play pool. I know No Shots likes to think that he has the monopoly on saying that he has the hardest play pool. With I've got the champions in my league and all these other teams. But if you look at the play pool in the East, it's harsh. We've got the Solar Savers, who are the Norse team, who go around killing people left, right, and centre.
Right.
We've got Dong Eagle and his damned Lizardmen. And we've got Shaking his bloody Death Roller. There's just death all over the East at the moment. So that's why I've taken the extraneous decision to actually recruit from outside this season. And I brought in our first transgender player. So Louise has actually joined us now from the big lady New Orcs, and looking forward to seeing her in the first game up against our good old pals, the History of Violence Lizards again.
And when will that be? When will that be?
That's going to be on Sunday afternoon, evening. Me and Crow will go at it again in our regular first game of the season tradition, where I turn up and get rolled. So yes, looking forward to it.
Right. Okay, so that's season 4. Anything else you want to cover?
Should we do a grinds my gears little bit?
Yes, let's do.
Okay. So one thing I have noticed a lot more of in recent farm activity and in first couple of games of season 4, fouling is up, piling on is up. There is a lot more of this going on now. To the extent where we see some coaches who are fouling on a regular basis. We're talking maybe 5-6 fouls in a 16-turn spell. That's a lot. When you look at the percentage figures, it's risky, but it's a valid tactic. But I can't help get peed off if someone is fouling me on a regular basis.
Right.
But it's one of those things that's on the increase, and it's in the game, it's in the rules. So we just got to learn to deal with it. So what do you think? Have you seen that on the increase as well?
Not in my not with me personally. But I have seen it. I've witnessed it. I do think it's on the increase, and I think it's a byproduct of the expansion of the league. I think it's a byproduct of the expectations that may or may not have, or may have been set, or not set, for that matter. But yeah, I think it is on the increase. I think on the farm we're seeing it a lot more. But then again, we're also seeing it from only certain players, or coaches, I should say. It's not. I don't think it's everybody, but it is surely increased from what it used to be.
So, if there was a picture coach for this, who would it be?
So, to put them on the spot, it would be
to put you on the spot.
Yeah. That represents the chief in.
If there was a poster boy for it, who would it be?
It would be Chase JJ.
Hell yes, it would be Chase JJ.
Yes.
God damn, that guy likes to foul.
Yeah, and yeah, he does. He really does.
And I think if you haven't seen it, if you haven't experienced it before or anything like that, it can really throw you. Just like what the.
Yeah.
The F and Wolf market's going on.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just something that's definitely on the rise. And I think what you said about it being a byproduct of the league expanding is an interesting thing too. And yes, the league definitely has expanded. It also feels to me a little bit, and I'm probably being nostalgic in it, which is ridiculous when you think about how long we've been doing this. It's not even a year, but
right.
Nostalgic for the old days of season 1, season 2, where people used to chat on mics and stuff, and it was all really friendly.
Right.
Even in the chat, people were respectful. There weren't any, it was all just done on a really nice, family sort of vibe. It was all good. Since the expansion, though, I've seen a lot more. There's been a lot more niggle, I guess,
right, in
the chat, and yeah, it makes me a little sad. Of course, I can deal with it. It's not a big problem,
right?
But yeah, it's definitely not the happy fuzzy place that it used to be. There's definitely a little bit of niggle every now and then. Well, I guess that's symptomatic of coaches developing these rivalries as well.
Right.
But I certainly think with the expansion and new guys coming in, maybe you haven't got the spirit and the ethos of MML from the start.
Right.
Maybe that's what they're seeing a
Well,
bit
I
more.
think that's.
What do you think?
I think that the spirit of the MML is a part of it. You know, when we first started, everybody in the chat, everybody in the league was also a pro coach. And that was the first season. And then the next season 2 comes around, and we didn't have the farm until we did have the farm. So at that point, everybody was in the league. They were also had a team in the league, so that was it. Then the farm comes along, and it's still pretty much all the pro coaches with now other teams in the farm. Season 3 comes along, and we get more people than we can have in the pros, and so they hang out in the farm. And so we have coaches that haven't really experienced that camaraderie of being at the pro level. They're just hanging out on the farm. And as the, we're if you take out the Cablevision league, right, we're the number 2 league on the platform. We have the most players, the most teams. We're the number 2 league on the platform. We're one of the only leagues on the platform, if not the only league on the platform, that's actually on the main Cyanide website. We do great marketing. We have a good website. I mean, we're pretty vocal at that, and it draws a lot of people in. And we don't have, we only have 32 teams at the pro level. We now have 24 teams at a challenge level, and we have more coaches at the farm level, and they haven't been at that level. They haven't quite experienced that. So from that perspective, they're just showing up in one of the most popular leagues going, wanting to play, not really knowing the history of how it kind of developed. So much to the I take responsibility here. Much to my shame, I've not done a good job of trying to instill that camaraderie. I think we still have it. I think it still works, but I think we have those 1 or 2 off coaches that we see every once in a while that come in, and then people get worked up, and it just kind of perpetuates itself, and then we got to stop in and remind everybody. But yeah, I would like to. I don't think it's epidemic. I don't think you're saying it's epidemic, but it is a shift in the mentality of we'll say the common everyday coach who's in the chat playing games and doing things. I think people are a lot more vocal. I take it 2 ways. One way, I think people get worked up about the game. Number 2. I take it as a sign. Well, I take it as a sign they get worked up, and it's a sign of immaturity. Hey, guys, this is just a game, right? Number 2, I also take it a sign of loyalty and dedication. Our coaches and the people who are in this league care deeply about what's going on in the MML to the point that they defend their pixels to their death. You know what I mean? Like, they get worked up about that stuff because they care, not because they're out to wreck somebody's day, but because that's how much they care. And you have some mentality of some coaches who have a different play style, and that rubs other coaches the wrong way. So I guess my stance is get on with your play style, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like martial arts, boxing, and things like that. You can go out and have a fight, but at the end of the day, we need to all sit around the campfire and have a beer with each other and be fine with it.
I'd say one little caveat to that.
Yep.
I think it's beholden on the more seasoned coaches.
Yep.
To influence and
Yes.
to step in. Any of the seasoned coaches who've been around here a long time, see anything that is just like not bullying us, because I don't think we have that.
Right.
But things getting a bit out of hand where it doesn't need to, step in, say, look, that's not how we do things in the MML.
Right.
There's no need to swear on the public chat, because we do have younger coaches.
Yep.
Just cut it out. At the end of the day, it's a game. Let's all
Yep.
We're just here to muck around and basically try and distract each other from trying to do any work during the day with a lovely chat.
Right.
But that's what needs to happen. And I'm not afraid to step in. I've said it on a couple of occasions, but
Right.
I think it's a responsibility for all of our more seasoned coaches to just to reinforce the MML spirit and the way in which we already the way in which you started things off.
Right.
So
it's not just another league. I mean, we do it differently here, and like you said, the guys that have been around for a while know how we do it, and step in and correct some people and do it in love, and everything's fine. So
definitely.
So what are the grievances?
I think that's it for my grievances. Yeah, it was fouling and crap in chat. that's about it really, and the rest of it is just bloody well let me win.
Right.
You know, it's getting tough. And I guess the one other thing I wanted to say is, you know, there's a lot of people who put a lot of time and effort into putting stories up on the MML.
Right.
There's a couple of guys who put some serious work into getting the stats for us, you know, shots and jesting. I know they do a lot of work in that area. You know, just wanted to say from my side, big thanks for that. You know, it is really appreciated. Without that, you know, I'm sure it would be a much poorer experience for everybody. And obviously to your good self, you know, we all really appreciate the work you do on this. And yeah, I think more articles we get, you know, that shows a bit of thank you as well.
Yeah, I agree. So, anything? What else you want to talk about? We got any questions from the adoring fans that are just hanging out, listen to us talk about stuff?
Well, we got a shot saying "F that."
Right.
I don't know what that's about. I thought one thing I heard that made me sad was Dolce was talking about the fact that Mouse may not be anymore after this season.
Right.
That they've been taking a bit of a kicking in the past few seasons, and
right.
I for one would be gutted if Mouse didn't exist. I think me and you managed to persuade him to keep going with him for another season last season.
Yep.
But yeah, I think just the way that he plays that team is great and epic, you know. And we've got DD in now who plays in similar fashion.
Yeah.
I love coaches who play like that because I don't. So I'd be really gutted if Mal.
Yeah, he's expressed that to me as well, and I've expressed what you just said. It would be unfortunate, but then again, you know, we have, you know, I have my own team that has its own story, and maybe I hang them up because we have, you know, non-living players coming to the field. But
yeah, but preach, no one turns up to see the Grunts play.
Touche.
Same as no one turns up to see the Titans play.
Touche.
But I guess what we could talk about, here we go. We're both Orc coaches, right?
Right.
What do you think the biggest strength of coaching Orcs is? What's your, if you had to give 3 tips to a complete novice Orc coach, what would they be?
Number 1, find a different race. Number 2,
you are sacked from the Orc propaganda machine.
Right.
Coach.
Yeah. Number 2, I would say, would probably be you need to learn how to cage, and you need to learn how to manage your turns. That's probably the biggest thing, is time management, turn management. You can't move fast. You're not going to move the ball fast. You need to be able to get the ball down and score, and you need to do so. You need to be moving towards that end zone every single turn, or doing something to get yourself there if you're on offense. If you're on defense, it's a little bit different story, but it's still turn management on defense, because if you let that other team take 8 full turns to get down there to score them, then you have to quickly manage, you know, on your possession. So I think Orcs is all about turn management, in my opinion. What do you think?
I think, yeah, utterly great points. For me, it's really about positioning. With Orcs, you've got to be able to. I mean, here's a good question for you, and it's something that I've been trying out recently. I probably shouldn't say this when Crow's about to play me, but what do you do on kickoff? Do you receive if you get the choice, or do you kick?
I always play defense first.
See, I always receive first. You know why? First
think you've
hits.
told me. Right. Yep.
First hits. I think as Orcs, you just need to concentrate on getting that number advantage. You know, more so than any team apart from Dwarfs, maybe, you need that number advantage. So start knocking people out, start, you know, maybe swinging for an injury, use your mighty blow early. That's what you want to do. You want to get the ball first. You want to have those first blocks up, get the one-man advantage. That one-man advantage, if you can hold out the next round or next turn without anybody going down, you're in a good place.
Right.
Yeah, because if you've got an Orc team that's one player up, I would say you're on an 80% chance of winning. Yeah. And I think that's really where I aim to make a difference in the games that I'm playing with Orcs.
Yeah, I mean that the problem I have with that is that I'm a better defensive coach than I am an offensive coach. So I like to play defense first, so that I can hopefully turn that in to my offense on their possession.
It's a gamble, though, isn't it?
It's a gamble.
Both of them are a gamble, I guess.
It's
I
a
just
gamble.
think that I probably got more chance of knocking someone out than I have of getting the ball back immediately. And if I've knocked someone out and they don't make that knockout roll next time round, then I'm in a good position to really just try and tighten the screw for the rest of the game.
Right. Yeah. It's a tough that.
And also trolls. I'm still not sold on them being a good idea.
Neither am I. I have one now, and I've been using him for a whole season. And he actually did fairly well for me. But I think I had to learn how to use. Well, I'm not gonna say I learned how to use him. I think I learned how to not make him completely worthless. So what I do is I don't, he's always got a buddy standing next to him, so he doesn't get confused at where to go. I don't blitz with him.
That's a drain on your resources as well.
It
Man.
is.
You've always got to have someone standing next to him.
It is, but if I've done my job correctly, I should always have some of my opposition around the middle of the pitch where I've placed him in the first place. So really, I only have to worry about moving him maybe 1 or 2 times on a possession, and with his buddy there, that's fine. If they have to abandon him, then I abandon the troll and leave his tackle zones there. Like I said, I'm not saying it's a good plan. I'm just saying that I can do that and make him not completely worthless.
I have been so close to sacking Big Mo.
I know.
It's people know him and talk about him, and it's hilarious. Oh, look, Big Mo's on his arse again.
Right.
And it's part of the experience now, and it's that awful thing where I've gotten emotionally attached to a crap player.
Right.
So yeah, I'm thinking that if he makes it through this season, he'll be a lucky troll.
Yeah.
There was a good question that came in on chat from Shots.
Right.
What are the top 5 teams that you wouldn't want to have leave the league?
Ever. Well,
Yeah.
we can't say ever.
Well, this season, who wouldn't you want to leave the league?
I don't want the Power Hour to leave because they come with. Here's where my answer is going to come from on all these teams. They come with their own storyline and propaganda, right? Because they're not just a team, and I'm not taking it away from anybody who doesn't do this at all, but they're not just a team that just shows up and play their games. Meaning I can log on the website, they have a storyline, their coach is engaged, and so on. Not that other coaches aren't, but they have something else. Those teams are the Power Hour, Mouse, Scuttlebutts, Treehawks. Who else? I would say the Titans, but you're already Well, you know what? Not the Titans. Not the Titans. Although you are a phenomenal orc coach, way better than myself. That's it.
I have a different answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
The top 5 teams that I would not want to see leave the league this season are any of the new guys. Because I think if the new guys leave, then we're doing something wrong. We want them to stay. And that for me would be... Way
to show up my answer.
Sorry, man, I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, I think for me, it would be the new guys. I'd hate to see them leave. If we're talking about emotional attachment, who wouldn't I want to see leave? Reptile Dysfunction, I'm sad that they're not around. Right. It's just the best team name I've seen. I like the Power Hour. I still have a grudge against them, which needs to be scratched from my one loss in the first 2 seasons. Who else? Leaping Lizards, much as I hate to say it. The Shock and Awe, because I love to kick Shaky. Who else? Mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's it. And some of the old teams that have gone past as well. I miss some of them. Komikozi's elf team. I miss them.
Yes. Yep.
They were such a good SPP farm. But so yeah, it's great. I mean, I think that the teams that really develop are the teams that build their own history, build their own story, and then you see the coaches bringing that through in the style of play it all builds up to a wonderful narrative around what they're trying to do.
Right.
So yeah, I think some of the new coaches get that. I mean, Rez is starting to put more articles out. Obviously, Jesse came in. Was it last season?
Yep, last
was
season.
it the season before last season?
Last season, yep.
And he's been pretty vocal,
Yep.
to say the least.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's the key thing, really. So, any other questions in the chat room?
We had
I guess.
Don saying he misses the Frozen Thrones. Think about the Frozen Thrones.
Yeah. What happened with the Thrones?
Okay.
Man? I still didn't get to the end of what happened with what's his face, the runner that scored untold points, Varag or
Yeah,
no, Varag.
yeah. Started with a V, Varric, something like that. But he got fired. He had like
Why?
He had an injury or something like that, I do believe.
Oh, was it like an MA injury or something like that?
I think so. Don't quote me on that, but
Man, I tell you, that's brutal.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like saying to me, would I get rid of Gorbag if he took a strength knock?
Yeah.
No.
Right. So.
But yeah.
No, Joker had. So the Thrones after their final game were sort of beat up, and so he decided to bring in the Arsenal Daggers, and play them in season 4. He registered them, had to good to go, and then he had some business trips and just some life stuff, things that came up, and he's like, I'm really only going to be here for half of the season. Like, he could have played his first game, probably could have played his second game, but he looked ahead and said, look, I'm going to miss these games. I don't want these to be, I don't want to, have the other coaches. So he stepped down. He's still in contact, still watches everything. He'll be back next season. So he's just taking some time off for him.
Be great to see him back. To see him back.
Yeah.
We've just got one question in the chat, and I've remembered something that I did want to talk about.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go on to what I want to talk about before I forget it again.
Yep.
It's about scheduling of games.
Yes.
Now, I think it's coming to the point where we're going to need to get some wording around this.
Yes.
Because I think if you've got two coaches trying to sort out a game, you've got one coach who, might say, I'm free on, gives 4 or 5 windows. And then you've got one other coach who says, I'm free on this window.
Right.
One window for a whole week. I think that's, I understand that everyone's got stuff going on and everything like that. But, we've got to think about people in time zones as well.
Right.
I just think that it's getting pretty difficult. It's in a difficult place where you're basically talking about, okay, we'll sort out on this one window that I'm available for. The other guy tries to shift everything around to make it, and then we get to that window, and the other guy pulls out, and then it's meant to be a draw concede. That feels wrong.
Yep, I agree.
So I'm just wondering I think we should start thinking about what to do around that.
Probably something we should talk about at the board level. I can tell you how it's worked in the past because we've had that multiple times. And how it's worked in the past is if there was an agreed upon game and the coach didn't show, then that's a loss for the coach that didn't show, not a draw. And that's how it went last season. It's how it went in season 2. I don't like that. It's not preferred at all. But it's a little bit of a disincentive. Well, I'll say 2 things. It's a little bit of a disincentive to have that happen. But that doesn't address the issue that you brought up, and that is scheduling. If you and me are playing and I say, hey, man, I can play this time, but that's it, and you say to me, I can play these 4 times, but none of those 4 times work for me, are we bound to go by the one time that that I said? No, I don't think so. So yeah, I think that's something that we do need to discuss. How are we going to approach that? Who's in the right, who's in the wrong? I don't think there is a right or a wrong, but I think somehow we need to land on a way to ensure that that everybody equitably wins. I should say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was just seeing shots as thing in the chat.
Right.
Just wake up at 5:30 and play against Shaky, not that hard. And you get to start drinking it.
Right, exactly.
Cool
Exactly.
Beans. So I guess that's just one thing I wanted to put on a close peg. So team that I missed the most that's gone. I'm trying to think from season 1. Anybody that comes to mind for you?
It is. I know the coach's name, but I need to get. Let me go here to prior season, and I'll tell you exactly. I forget his team name. It's from season 1. No, I tell you, I do miss. So I'll have two picks. I miss the Sky Home Swifts because he's a good coach, and he had a good, he had a good team. He had a good run. Talking about dude 2003. But the coach, where is he here?
My most missed coach is probably, and only for one reason,
Right.
Pork Attack.
Pork Attack.
The stories were epic. It was just amazing. I mean,
Right.
yeah, Pork Attack for me.
Well, if you're asking about teams, Pork Attack. If you're asking about coaches, then I guess it was the which team would I miss most? I would go with Pork Attack. Coaches, I'm going to go with Carbonated. It's the pork theme. The coach's name was Carbonated Pork, and he was a season one coach that was really involved, but he had to kind of step away to do his own thing there for a while. But he was really excited. He's still around on the fringes. He just doesn't have time. So I enjoyed him.
I think also to be mentioned in dispatches, I agree with Don. I miss Leothandra. I thought
Yes.
he was pretty active in the league and had a good
Yep.
sense of humour. And M. Gitto, even though
Yep.
he's named after an Australian rugby player who's crap. So yeah, miss those guys.
Yeah. Now we actually heard from M. Gateau last week or the week before. If you go to the community page on the on the console, the MML has a community page, and he actually stopped in and said, "Hey, what's up, guys?" Myself and Dalt, maybe one other person, replied to him, told him we missed him, hope he comes back. But I see him online every once in a while, so
Oh, cool.
maybe he's still watching, maybe still lurking. Hope so. But yeah, I like those guys as well.
Yeah, and as I said before, I missed the North Grove Gale and killing them.
Right. Right.
I think that's about me done. I can't think of anything. Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up, Charles? Preach. Apologies for that dreadful insult there.
Right. Forgiven this one time. Let's
Oh,
see.
did you want to talk about Sigmar?
Yeah, we can talk about Sigmar. Let's see here. So it's a charity tournament here in the MML called the Age of Sigmar, and what we decided to do is we have two generals, myself and more shots.
One
What's that?
one general, one desk jockey.
Right. And how this works is basically I have taken the forces of good, and he has taken the forces of, well, I don't know, chaos, whatever. And what we've done is basically there's a delineation of teams, and we've basically split the races into two sides, order and chaos, 12 teams apiece, meaning and two teams from each race. Each side gets 1,500 team value to split between those 12 teams. No one team can be above 1,400 team value. You build those teams out, you throw them all in the play pool, and we put all the teams in one round-robin tournament. Now, if your team happens to play a team from your side, your alliance, that team is considered a draw. Both teams get money, both teams get SPP, but it's just a draw. So it's managed over the 23 days of the tournament for that particular, that's the skirmish phase. And then we see who comes out on top at that phase. After that phase, we go into a battle phase, and after that phase, we'll go into a war phase, and we're all playing for T-shirts. So,
Wasn't there a little caveat that you said you were going to get the most, what was it, the most Sigmar names team would get something or other, a mystery prize?
Right. So the most, I will say the most inspiring team that kind of gets into the Age of Sigmar, Warhammer type, genre, naming convention or something, I'm personally going to award, I don't know, I haven't figured it out, but it'll be something unique.
It's still a mystery.
It's still a mystery, but it'll be a physical thing. Hopefully, it's somebody here in the Western Hemisphere that does that, so I can save on postage.
You don't want to be posted to Australia.
But nonetheless, it doesn't matter. So but yeah, that'll be coming. But this is a unique little tournament. In how we've done it. There's coordination. It's not an individual thing. It's a team, like a team of coaches effort. We had the first game already played last night. Both myself and Shots commentated that game. The Order took that game. I think we had another one played this afternoon, and Chaos won that one. So I think it's split 1-1. But yeah, it's a neat little tournament.
This is basically the Ryder Cup of Blood Bowl.
Right.
So I think it's great. I also love the commentary. There's a couple of guys who do the commentary. I haven't managed to do one yet, but I'm mad keen to do one. I just think it adds a lot to it. It's just a great way of just amping it up a little bit further.
Right.
And I think the funniest thing that's happened on Age of Sigmar charity tournament so far is our drunken desk jockey general coach Shots. Coming into general chat and giving us all tips on not to use any of our skill ups or anything until just before the game, so that we don't give the other team any tips.
Right.
Very, very, very handy pro
Right.
tip there from General
Right.
Shots, and I have to thank him for that.
Right, and it's also fun if you watch the replay from last night's game when myself and Shots were commentating. It was Jess pointed this out, where we the commentators, also the generals, rooting for our respective sides, were trying to give advice to our respective coaches in code. Shots would point out something, like obviously Chase knows that he has a 2-die blitz with a 1 going for it over, that type of thing. So
Obviously, he's seen
Right.
the lineman that's hiding behind the big guy.
right. So so it was interesting to have that little extra commentary for commentators that have a vested interest in the two teams playing, we'll say. But yeah, it's a good little tournament. Should be a lot more games to be played in that one. So like I said, there's no impact to the winners here in the MML, but we are playing for prestige and T-shirts. So
Prestige and T-shirts.
Right.
What more could a coach want?
right. Yeah. So excellent. Well, any other questions or anything else you want to talk about, man?
No, I guess the couple of additional rule changes that are coming in are that Bretonian blitzers are getting access to the AG tree.
Yep.
And then the Orc blitzers are going down by 10 TV. Whoop.
Yep. That is
so
good. That is good.
Extra 40 TV back is always helpful. It's almost alignment.
Right.
I'm just wondering, with the Cyanide having now admitted that they made a mistake, will you be giving me retrospective points for my Orc blitzers?
I wish. That would be great. That would be great.
And then there's obviously the Undead team on the way, which hopefully will be here by season 5. They've said
Right.
sometime in late July, so we should have it well before season 5. But then again, this is Cyanide.
Yeah, it is. So, well, I know it's late for you, man. I know we've went over. I appreciate it. I know you got some stuff going on this weekend, holiday weekend for us. For us guys over here, maybe we gained our independence or something. I don't know.
Oh, that's when you chucked all the bloody tea in the river, wasn't it?
Right.
And then you cheated and shot from the bushes where you're meant to wear colours and stand in a bloody line.
Right. It was the first Brexit.
Despicable. Oh, don't even talk about Brexit, man. I am so sick and tired of that.
Yeah.
And on that bombshell,
Right. Just throw that little grenade out there and just leave it.
London mic drop.
Yeah. Well, but no, thank you. I appreciate you staying up. I appreciate the guinea pig, both of us, for trying this live format. Hopefully it works. Maybe the people that tuned in can give us some feedback if they like this or not. I'll archive it. I'll post it on the site sometime this weekend, so it's not like you won't be able to listen to it again. But yeah, thanks, man.
Good. Always good to listen to your voice again, Preach.
Yeah.
So no, it's cool. Have a great weekend, man. And for the order.
For the Order.